So today's a little different.
Today's a little different because yesterday we posed the question, is it okay to let somebody back in your life once you cut them out? So we decided after we filmed the last two videos that we posted about talking about relationships and when to push forward in them and to pull back, that talking about when to cut people out or when to bring them back in your life is an important topic that we should discuss, and it should have its own video. And while we're not going to be able to necessarily talk about all of it because it's a pretty big subject, we just wanted to at least touch on it and give you our feedback and our thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to like letting people back into your life that you've cut out, we really can't, there's no way we could have enough time on a single video to talk about every single instance. And so we did want to make a little disclaimer. This video we're making is excluding people who have cut relationships out of their lives due to sexual abuse or physical abuse. That is an entirely different subject, and just so you all know, it's one of those type of things that we would say cut a relationship out.
Yeah.
It's short and simple, but it's a long and complicated thing that we have to talk about more than just letting a relationship in or out. We have to deal with some personal issues, and so we're talking more along those lines of people who have had to cut out relationships because of offenses that maybe are emotional or a breaking of trust, or maybe verbal things that have been said and kind of been toxic. And really what happens is the person who was toxic, whether it be actually you or them, begins to have a hard turnaround and say, I think I might be wrong. And what we've noticed in just being around people and just trying to help people have better relationships in general is that most people lean into one of two categories. The first category is people who cut relationships out of their lives really quick. They're really quick to be angry. Their fight, attitude is really, really high. You disrespect them, you disrespect their family, you disrespect something about them, and they're really quick to cut the person out. And then you have people who live on the other side, which are people who have really been hurt and wronged, and they're caught in this unhealthy cycle where they keep coming back to the same poison that's hurting them over and over again. They tend to say things like, well, it wasn't that bad, and they didn't really mean things that way, and I'm pretty sure. They're constantly giving the benefit of the doubt. And so this video is talking about both of those relationships. And when we kind of look at, should you let a relationship back into your life or not? One of the things that we want to look at is first, and it's going to probably maybe shock you just a little bit, but we ask the question of, has forgiveness been applied in this broken relationship?
So really, when you're assessing, should you let somebody back in, it honestly is a case-by-case basis. It's not going to be the same for every situation, and you have to kind of evaluate, okay, what was the offense? Was it extreme? Was it deeply wounding? Or was it just me reacting because I had a bad day and they rubbed me the wrong way just at the right time and I overreacted? And sometimes it's hard to have that self-reflection, because if you're the one, especially in the wrong, and you just kind of freaked out and you cut them out and you're like, oh man, I made a mistake. Now I have to go humble myself.
And here's the thing about forgiveness is, with forgiveness, a lot of people think that forgiveness is the exact same thing as forgetting. And in reality, that's like definitely not forgiveness. There is some forgetting and some of that stuff that does take place in forgiveness. If you really want to get really biblical with it, the Bible does say that when Jesus forgives us, he forgets our offense. But really, forgiveness is different. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. Forgiveness is all about freedom. Whether that's freedom from past hurts and pains and bitterness, or freedom from a damaging and slavery type of relationship where you just can't seem to break free of another person. And so when we say, okay, has forgiveness been applied, we're thinking about these three things specifically. The first thing is, have you acknowledged your hurt? A lot of times people have to cut a relationship out and they know their feelings are hurt, but they're not so sure why. And the problem is if you don't know why your feelings were hurt, you might continue to invite the exact same relationship you just cut out of your life back into your life, and they're going to continually hurt you in the exact same way. I mean, if this person you cut out your life never has a heart, never turns around, and never tries to come back, you're still stuck with you. You still have to grow. And so you have to ask, what was it really that hurt me? And sometimes you might find that when you acknowledge what really hurts you, you can see that maybe you cut them out prematurely, or maybe when they start to come around and say, hey, I want to come back into your life, and you start to go, well, it really wasn't that bad. No, you need to look back and acknowledge the hurt. Forgiveness begins when you acknowledge the hurt. The second thing you want to acknowledge is you want to acknowledge what they've done. A lot of people think that forgiveness is just ignoring things and sweeping it underneath the rug and just saying, no, I won't even remember it. No, forgiveness is acknowledging what they've done. Even when you look at biblical examples of Jesus forgiving people, he acknowledged their sin, he acknowledged their offense, he didn't ignore what they had done. He said, this is what you did. Okay, I forgive you. So first you look inwardly, what hurt me? Secondly, you look outwardly, what did they do? And at that point, you really can make the decision of whether or not you let that person into your life again. And that's really when we say the third point is you separate the person's name from that offense. And that means two different things for two different people. If you look inwardly at how you were hurt, and then you look at outwardly what they did, and you realize you overreacted, separating their name from the offense means you say, all right, I overreacted. I also just realized I'm working on some things individually. I'm gonna let you in slowly, but I'm not gonna hold this to you. But if you're somebody who keeps going back to the same guy or girl who keeps hurting you over and over and over and over again, and you keep making excuses for them, sometimes separating the offense means you say, you know what? I have to break this relationship with you, and I can't let you back in. And this is really me forgiving you. It's me saying, you know what? Your life and my life is better if I'm not constantly bitter at you, and if I don't stay in a cycle of abuse.
So at the end of the day, it's really not about, do I let somebody back in or not? At the end of the day, it's, have I forgiven them or not? The Bible tells us that we need to forgive others just like we've been forgiven. And we're not perfect people. And so if for some reason the opposite were to happen and somebody cut you out of their life and you're sitting there going, what in the world, what did I do? You would want them to forgive you as well, because they're not perfect, you're not perfect. The next thing that is really important to do is to seek out unbiased, wise counsel. So don't go running to your mom or your sister or your best friend and complain and tell them all the hurt and the pain that you have, because they're going to side with you because they love you, and that's okay. They're on your side, that's fine. But when you're going to make a crucial decision of bringing somebody back in or cutting them out completely, you want to go to somebody who is not even a part of the situation, who is wise and has that track record that can tell you, hey, this is what I see, these are the patterns I see, this, that, and the other, and they can give you true wisdom that is completely unbiased and is not going to just side with you. They're going to tell you what you need to hear, even if you don't want to hear it.
And so our first aim and goal should always be restoration, so that both people can learn and grow. At the end of the day, regardless of your situation or spot in life that you're in, that's one of the main things we want to hit on is forgiveness, but also wisdom. Wisdom seems to be something that you don't see very commonly in this world. We speak a lot about facts and knowledge and logic and education and emotions and heart, but we forget to talk about wisdom. So find that wise person who can speak into your life and listen to that counsel.
If you have more questions or you want to talk about your specific situation that maybe you want more answers on, we'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to just give you our heart, and we'd love to pray for you and encourage you in whatever you're going through. So you can message us, but also just continue to like, follow, subscribe, and follow along with us on this millennial